everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today's going to be a fun video. I'm going to be talking about a law school application timeline for fall 2026 law school applicants. So if that is you, if you want to know the step-by-step process of what you should be doing and when you should be doing it, make sure you watch until the end. I'm also going to be giving you guys some helpful and some new information about this super exciting thing that I have coming soon to launch that you guys are definitely gonna wanna get in on. So make sure you stay till the end to hear about that. So let's go ahead and jump right into the video. I've got my phone here with me instead of my laptop because it's somewhere charging, okay? So very first thing, of course, is 1 year before. So at the time you're watching this video, if you have not already begun, you are definitely going to want to start your prep process. What that prep process is going to look like is I'm sure you know, it is your LSAT, right? So start studying for the LSAT. What I'm going to typically recommend here is probably going to defer depending on the person, and the new offer I have that I'm going to talk about a little bit later will help you divvy this down a lot further depending on who you are. But so what I'm going to do here is just a more general, because I can't speak to each and every single person, but what you're going to do is decide how many hours per week you need to be studying for the LSAT, right? So if you are 25 and older and you've been out of law school for a while, or you're working a full-time job or multiple full-time jobs, maybe that means that you have a less amount of time to study, and so your hours are going to be lower, and that's going to be a part of the calculus that you're playing in as I get later into this timeline. Maybe you're an undergrad and you have a low or a short kind of like senior schedule, and so you have more time to study, right? But first and foremost, you're just going to decide how many hours per week you need to be studying for the LSAT. And let's just say you go with 5 hours per week to start with, right? So what you're gonna wanna do is get yourself set up on some LSAT materials. Again, this is all gonna be included in this new offer I have coming out. But when you're deciding on your LSAT materials, what I typically recommend is either 7-Sage, PowerScore, LSAT Demon, right? The Loophole book. And all of this information, you can get all of these materials in the description box. The link, I'll have a link that says like Amazon storefront. It's all gonna be linked there. Loophole, and then also the LSAT Trainer by Mike Kim. All of those are on Amazon. And then some practice prep tests. But you're gonna wanna get started on that because you are going to do yourself a favor by starting studying for the LSAT 1 year out, and you will understand why in a second. But for my clients who do start that full year out, they see the highest potential, the highest increase in their LSAT score. You're probably gonna go through, okay, so this is actually gonna depend on how many hours you decided or you determined that you needed to study. But again, if we go off, you decided the 5 hours per week and you're starting that in October, then you're gonna at least carry that through to, let's see, October, November. You're definitely gonna carry that through December. So all of October, all of November, all of December. So at least for 3 months, doing those 5 hours per week. And then let's do the math here. Math is not my strong suit. So it's gonna be 60 hours, right? That's a total of 60 hours you've just studied through December if you were doing those 5 hours per week, just about. So then when you hit December, at that point in time, that's when you're gonna say, okay, where did I begin and where am I now? And so I didn't say this, but you're gonna wanna start off with a diagnostic. Not everyone likes the diagnostic, not everyone finds it necessary. I personally like the diagnostic because you can see and keep track of your progress. So even if you've never seen the LSAT before, and you've never taken it before, and your diagnostic score is trash, it really doesn't matter. For me, the point of the diagnostic is saying, this is where I started knowing absolutely nothing, and now 60 hours later, this is where I am knowing hopefully the fundamentals of what I need to know for the LSAT, right? Now, if after 60 hours of studying, you're not seeing that much improvement, that's going to affect what you were doing for the remainder of your strategy, for the remainder of your timeline, for the remainder of your process, and that's why it's so important to keep track of these things. But before we get into that, the next thing that you're going to want to do is create your LSAC account. So with your LSAC account, that's actually where you're going to schedule your LSAT, that's where you're going to apply to all of your law schools, that's when you're gonna do all of those good things, right? And so this is when you start incorporating the nitty-gritty, the details that you need to have a strong law school application cycle, right? Because I talk about it all the time, the application cycle, your prep and making sure that you have an application that stands out from the rest begins before, begins before the law school application process cycle, admission cycle actually opens up in September, right? So once you've created that LSAC account, the next thing that you're doing and you start incorporating slowly, so now this is carrying you into January and February, is researching your law schools, right? And by researching your law schools, what I mean there is you're researching your goals. What is it that you want to do post law school? Because your goals is what informs the law schools you apply to. So you have to understand your goals. And I'm not telling you to go read law books or go do all this deep digging. You can watch my videos. I have a whole video on what you can do post law school, or like legal careers, whatever, what you can do post, something like that. It's going to be in the description box. And that will give you a broad overview of your different legal careers. And you have to have an idea like, okay, Sephora talked about federal clerkships there. That's something I'm interested in. Academia, I would love to be a law school professor, right? Having an idea of what that is, because that is going to inform how you are choosing your law schools, right? So that's also what you're doing in this process. Remember that while you're doing this researching, right, while you're adding in and researching your goals and researching your schools and finding schools, there's other considerations that you're taking into account that I'm not going to get into in this video because it'll be an hour long, but just like to give you kind of like a broad overview. You're thinking about geography, you're thinking about other things that the school offers that you would be interested in, right? So calculating taking all of those different factors and putting them into, here are the schools, here is a comprehensive school list that I'm looking at. Once you have that, you are going to decide, going to go look at these schools' numbers, right? You're going to go get the actual numbers from these schools, right? So I'm talking employment numbers. I'm talking employment percentage. I'm talking, where are their graduates going? I'm talking, are they going to big law? Are they going to federal clerkship? Are they going to academia? Sometimes that information is not as readily available there. But I've talked about academia in that other video. But you're looking at this information because that is the information you have to use to guide you, right? And so now remember that while you're doing this, you're still studying for the LSAT, of course. And so depending on where your score was after those first 3 months of studying, ideally you've then either increased your amount of hours because you weren't where you think you need to be, or you didn't see any improvement at all, like maybe only a 1 or 2 point jump. And when we're getting down to nitty gritty, I'll give you some concrete details on how you can kind of evaluate your LSAT progress, your application progress in the new offer that I'm going to be talking about at the end of this video. But you're going to want to be tracking this information because it's going to inform your law school application cycle. Like if you're falling behind your schedule, if you need to increase something, what you need to do, right? And so again, so you're doing all of this and of course still studying for the LSAT. I would say about now, like you're probably around the 5 or 6 month range, which will carry you to like February or March, right? And so now it's time to start incorporating application prep. Application prep is where I usually begin stepping in and working with my clients in kind of the January to March area. And this is where I also work with them on LSAT prep because Topping the Curve has LSAT tutors. But this is where we're talking a lot about what are your strengths and what are your weaknesses? What do we need to improve upon in your overall application? So whether that be your resume, whether that be your extracurriculars, whether that be your recommenders, like literally whatever it may be, work experience, whatever. This is when we're taking a holistic look at that and deciding what needs to be improved upon or what needs to be mitigated if you've got weaknesses, right? So if you've got a low GPA, if you've got some character and fitness issues, if you've got other things on your resume or just within your past, your history that can be significantly improved upon, that's when I'm working with you to give you the templates, give you the plug and play information to get that handled. And that takes time. Like if it sounds like, oh my gosh, Sephora, but that's a lot. It's because it is a lot, but it's not difficult. You're just telling me and I'm giving you the information and you're just taking my templates and using them. That's literally what my clients do in my Greats Application Accelerator community. They take the templates and they do what they need to do after I've told them, right? So that's what this prep looks like. The prep is like if trying to get grades removed, if you need to have them removed, or working, and I've had plenty of clients do that, so trust me, it is possible. So that will raise your overall LSAC GPA. Looking at the school list you've built and deciding like, is your school list sufficient? Do we need to change schools? Do we need to remove schools? Do we need to add schools? So kind of really refining and honing that list. And then I'm coming in also and looking at where are you with your LSAT studying? Where else do we need to improve? What is missing, or where are there blanks and gaps in your application that we could potentially fill with other areas of your application. So whether that be through recommenders, like, right, the whole 9. So the prep process itself can be around 3 to 4 months. So February, March will take us to about May to June for the prep process. And ideally then that prep process is complete. And then that's when we begin in the application prep process, right? And so this is when we're determining your holistic story. This is when we're doing the brainstorming. This is when we're thinking about all of your writing. This is when we're thinking about what are your materials going to be about. And then we're beginning that in June, and that will carry you usually the 3 to 4 months through right when application is open. Now, notice how I didn't like fit in the LSAT pieces, but I'll go back and do that now. So the 5-month mark when you were in January or February-ish, or was it like February or March-ish, depending on where you were at that point in your LSAT, that's when we're determining, do you need to continue on the path that you were on? Do you need to get a tutor? Do you need to join a course? Does something else need to change because we're not seeing the increases that we would like to see? And that's why starting studying for the LSAT now, like literally now, if your fall 2026, is so important, because if you hadn't started now and gotten those 5-6 months already, and imagine if you had just started in June, you're already late in the cycle. You're already gonna either have to delay or have to submit your application late because your LSAT score isn't where you want it to be, and you don't have the time to get it up or to do what needs to be done to build on all those extra pieces of your application, right? But because you did start early, so now we're in February, March, you're at the 5-6 month mark, and you can say, okay, I'm ready to go jump right into prep. I'm ready to do prep in conjunction with my studying because what I'm doing is working. Or I need to go get a tutor. I need to go do something else. Something needs to change because it's not working. It's been 5-6 months. I should have seen a jump in my score and I haven't, right? And so you're making that determination. Based on what that determination is, that's going to determine if you take the June LSAT or if you take the August LSAT, right? And so that's considerations we're making. That's going in along with prep. For a lot of my clients, I guess I shouldn't say a lot, but it does depend on the client. If they were kind of strong in that February or March, they would then take that June LSAT. If they weren't, then they would register for the August LSAT, and I would either set them up with my tutor or we would work on changing up their LSAT strategy, which I do, right? And so that's why you want to start that process earlier on. And then some clients, we can merge the LSAT with the prep, with the brainstorming, with the holistic story, with the writing, with the choosing the application material topics, all that stuff that's going on in June and July. But for other clients, if they haven't seen much improvement with their LSAT, then it's really like they need to hone in a lot more on their LSAT. So you see why it's so important to start earlier in the cycle, especially if you are aiming for these top law schools with scholarships. And so again, then like speeding us back up to the application process. So then, if you're starting your writing, that brainstorming process, and then you're getting that done, your materials will be done by the time applications are open within that kind of 4-ish month mark, right around September when applications open, and then you're ready to submit, right? And so you're submitting your applications. Well, your essays are done, but the next thing that we are doing is the more. And so the more, I'm not gonna get into too much in this video because this is what I do like after your materials are done, or when your materials are at least 75% of the way done. And this is where I have my clients actually doing extra things to get recognized in the law school application process. So actually just yesterday, one of my clients shared in our community, the greats, that they got a fee waiver from their top law school choice in LA. They got a tour and they got a meeting with admissions counselors there. And like that just came from yesterday. 2 other clients of mine also shared, and if you're on my newsletter, then you watched the video, you saw the screenshots, also shared about getting meetings with admissions counselors. One of them that I posted about got a meeting, got an interview, and then got accepted for a T5 law school. So these things that we're doing, right, the interview prep, the talking to admissions, the getting the fee waivers, the getting one-on-one meetings, the scholarship essays, the supplemental essays, all that extra stuff, that's what we're going into once your main materials are done. And so usually that's September, October, and that is the full year process. Of course, it's a lot more nuanced than that. I kind of just distilled it down for the purposes of this video. But guys, I promise for making it to the end, I would give you a special offer. And I'm so excited to talk about it because it's a brand new offer. It's something I've never done before, but I actually came up with the idea when I was in vacation in Antigua. And I really wanted to create something that would be more accessible to more of you guys and also allow me to help more of you guys, because I am just one person with a little help here and there on my team. But ultimately, there's a lot of people who I haven't been able to help because capacity is limited. I still work full time. And so this offer is something that I knew that I could create, and I've been working with a developer to create for you guys. It's going to guide you on this process that I just gave you, but it's going to be so much more in depth. It's going to tell you what you need to do, how you need to do it. It's going to talk to you about building that strong timeline. It's going to tell you, it's going to allow you to keep track of where you are, if you're falling behind, if you need to change something, if something needs to be moved, right? You're going to be able to track how long you're studying, if things are working for you, when you should be incorporating prep, at what time you should be doing the law school research, how to do the law school research, like all that stuff. And it's gonna be at a super, super accessible price. I won't reveal the price on here because it's not actually launched at the time of this video. I do have a wait list. So if you're interested in joining that wait list and you haven't yet, then the waitlist information will be in the description down below for you to join that waitlist. And it's going to be really fun. That's what I'll say. And once it is launched, the waitlist will get first access. So you are going to want to join that waitlist. Again, it's going to be at a more accessible price because I want all of you guys to be able to follow this timeline, follow this tracker, just have this information, because this is what you need in order to increase your chances of just having a strong law school application cycle altogether. The biggest application mistake that I see people making is simply just not starting soon enough and then not knowing what to do. And this new offer that I have coming for you guys, it's gonna solve all of that. So I'm so excited. If you can't find the information for the waitlist, then just shoot me an email at contact@toppingthecurve.com and we will get you added to the waitlist. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Don't forget to follow me on social media at Topping the Curve, and like, comment, and subscribe. I'll see you guys on my next one. Bye.